You're listening to the Station 71 podcast with your hosts, Mario,
Beth,
and Brian.
So this week we are going to take a listener-suggested topic from one of our listeners, Sara. She had asked what kind of things we could save and splurge on at Disney World vacation. But first, as always, we're going to dive into our news topics this week. First up, we've got boozy vignettes available at Walt Disney World.
I'm super excited about these.
I knew you would be. I saw this story when it first came out, and I was like, I really hope someone remembers to put this in the news topics because someone's got to be excited about this.
I mean, they just combine two really awesome things.
Dessert and alcohol?
Yeah, it's literally a drink and dessert all in one. But specifically beignets because I'm such a big Princess and the Frog nerd.
And they're Mickey shaped, so
That's also.
Hold on. So really quick, I know this is so off news topic, but you guys know that yesterday I think it was National Hot Dog Day, and Casey's did that whole 2-foot hot dog thing, right?
Yes.
So a lot of places were doing that around Orlando, and I saw someone post a thing on Twitter today, and it was like SeaWorld's response to National Hot Dog Day, and it was a turkey leg wrapped in a pretzel, and I immediately thought of Beth and how much she hates making pretzels. And I was like, this is just her nightmare.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway.
How is that a response to Hot Dog Day?
Because it's the most outrageous thing that they could think to serve in their parks.
Oh my gosh. They're like, what are the two iconic Disney snacks that we can rip off?
Now it just needs to be Mickey shaped for you to really hate it.
Right. Well, no, the Mickey shape makes it taste slightly better, I think. It's just the pretzel itself is terrible.
So anyway, boozy beignets, let's talk about them. The thing that I found that's interesting is apparently they're not cooked with alcohol, which would totally take that out. It's actually infused with it.
Yeah, from what I saw, it's like a
squirt bottle kind of thing.
Like a syringe kind of thing. Yeah, that they stab in it.
Which is so weird. I can't imagine that doesn't, drench the actual pastry itself.
I'm assuming that they have mixed it into some sort of, cream, maybe? Because,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it is straight. It says here you can get either Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, or rum chata. So maybe it's not mixed in with a cream.
Oh, is this picture what I'm seeing right here, with the little, I don't know what to call this other one, a syringe that's sticking into the beignet?
Yeah.
That you squeeze in yourself.
That's what it looks like.
Oh yeah, I guess you do squeeze in yourself, but yeah, pipettes cool. Is what they call them apparently. The little squeezy things. Fun fact.
I'm also very upset that these are at Riverside, or at French Quarter, not Riverside, because, that's my preference. But I'm gonna...
It kind of makes more sense.
It does. I'm just picky, and I like Riverside better than French Quarter. But Beth, which one are you gonna try first? I know you're gonna have to try these next time you're down there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't like coffee, so the Kahlua is out, but I would take either Bailey's or rum chata. I love both of those. But probably rum chata is my favorite.
I feel like rum chata would probably taste the best in that situation.
I gotta say also, it's I know it's Disney, but it's kind of ridiculous that little pipette is $8.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, no. Sorry, you get 3 beignets with the pipettes filled with the either Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, or rum chata. So you do get 3 beignets.
For 8?
That's what it says.
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, that's really not bad at all.
I was thinking it was you had to buy the beignets and then pay an extra $8 for the shot. But yeah, that's not bad at all.
No.
Maybe I'll just try the Kahlua for kicks then.
Yeah, just get all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So, next news story that we have for this week is that Pandora received some improved lighting. And by that we mean they placed some spotlights on the walkways so that guests would not trip. If you can't tell, we're pretty upset about that.
Yeah, I'm hoping the pictures that Blog Mickey put up on their social media, which is where I think we all originally saw the story, I'm really hoping that the lights aren't as bright as those pictures are making it seem like they are.
Yeah, that's a total, like, ambiance killer.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I think they were saying was that they're hoping it's the worst case scenario that someone got the wrong lights at Home Depot.
Yeah.
But, like, it kills it. And the speculation is that the bioluminescent paint that they were using is wearing down a lot faster than they expected to, but also that guests were having some issues in the dark with the walkways.
See, that's what I'm thinking it is, because we all know how crazy Disney goes when they're trying to, like, keep stuff up to date, especially with stuff like painting like they do on Main Street and stuff. So I have a feeling that if it was the bioluminescent paint, that they would put the effort in, to just repaint it much more frequently. So yeah, I'm thinking it's a safety thing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I think it falls too. And like I was telling you guys, they probably could have done this in a more subtle way too. Like, do those kind of theater spotlights where they show you the walkway or something along those lines.
Or, like,
where
make them colored.
Yeah.
Like, make them a nice, like, pink or blue like the plants are.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. It really does. It looks like somebody put, like, a giant spotlight in the middle of Pandora.
To me, it just looks like a construction site.
Yeah, it really does.
Mm-hmm.
Really does.
Hopefully they'll get it together soon, and this isn't permanent.
So next up, we have a rumor that a Wreck-It Ralph VR attraction is coming this fall to Walt Disney World and Disneyland.
Well, the interesting thing is that it is rumored to be coming to Disney Springs and Downtown Disney at the respective parks.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what the article was basically saying is that the rumor is that it's going to kind of be like the Star Wars VR experience they have right now. It's called The Void. So it's, from what I understand, basically just a building, and you have, like, the VR goggles, helmet, whatever it is on, and you just, like, it just makes you feel like you're in a much bigger space and, like, running around and stuff.
From
I've heard,
what
like, really good things about it.
Yeah, from what I've heard, not to cut you off, is they actually give you, like, physical props and stuff too. Like, when you're picking up a blaster in the game, they're actually handing you, like, a blaster, so you have physical things to kind of touch on and get a feel for, so it really feels like you're immersed in this world.
Yeah. I'm not, like, a huge Star Wars fan by any means, but I would, like, I have wanted to do The Void just because it sounds so cool. I'm just worried that I would get motion sickness.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe it'd be worth it.
So the weird thing about this to me is that the rumor was that we were going to get the Wreck-It Ralph ride where Stitch was, and now they're saying it might go in Springs. I wonder if there's still, like, if there's any rumbling of that going where Stitch used to be.
See, I think my thing is that they're able to charge more if they put it at Springs, because if they make it an actual attraction, then you just have to pay admission, and then you can ride it as many times as you want. So I think if they do keep it, if it does come to Springs and they keep it there, I think it's probably because of the profit that they can make off of it. Plus, it's, like, super expensive equipment.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be very, very hard to have, a setup where enough people inside the parks could do it. You're dealing with a much smaller crowd, at Disney Springs. So hopefully, I feel like they'd have to have at least 3 times as many VR setups for guests if they put it in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be cool, definitely, to have in the park, but kind of like what you were saying, Brian, is that I think that the the amount of people that could do it is not going to be worth it, like the per hour whatever payoff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What I imagined would work better, I think, is like not exactly like Mission Space, but like kind of in the same vein.
Where it's like a motion simulator?
Yeah. I feel like that could work. Like, that could be a people eater enough to make it feasible. But I don't know how exactly they would do that without making it, like, weird. Like, on a racetrack, anyway. I don't know.
Well, one thing that would be cool, I know we always talk about them doing the, like, Sugar Rush game. I don't know if y'all have seen some of the videos online of the people that have the, like, Mario Kart VR setups where you, like, sit in the motion-activated cart and everything and play Mario Kart. But I think it would be so cool for them to have something like that in the park where you actually get to, like, control a game and race against the other guests.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
So, next news story is Ziploc has become the sponsor for KidCot, and they're debuting new fun stops around World Showcase at EPCOT.
I think this is a great idea. Like, no one wants to carry around those sticks anymore. Like,
yeah.
I mean, no one wants to carry them around in the first place, but you do it, you got to do it once.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a much better alternative.
Yeah, and the new signage is actually, like, kind of cool, like the little cards that they have for it. I think that was a really good choice because KidCot doesn't really get that much love, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. KidCot's kind of like the resting area where the parents take their kids to color when they want to sit down.
Yeah, and you get all of those Duffy Bears in every country.
Yeah.
I still have never understood the Duffy Bear thing.
I think it's more popular overseas than it is here, and they just tried to really push it here because it's as popular over there as it is.
So was it like its own independent IP that Disney kind of picked up on, or
It's from my understanding is it's a Disney IP. Like, they own the rights to it or something. And it's got, like, its own story and everything, but it's all in, like, Tokyo and Hong Kong. Like, we don't get any of that here.
Yeah, so the story apparently is that Minnie created a Duffy Bear stuffed animal for Mickey as he was packing for a long voyage at sea. And it's mostly popular at Tokyo Disney and Hong Kong. But yeah, I never really got it in this, like, over here either. I was just like, who is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
But I mean, maybe it's like Orange Bird. Maybe it'll catch on because, like, Orange Bird, the reason that he came back was because, like, Tokyo fell in love with him and made him popular again. So
Maybe.
Yeah,
Orange Bird is cooler than Duffy, though.
I think I agree with that. So, next news story we have is that, I just lost. Oh, okay. Disney has released a new wedding venue. You can now get your photos taken at the Tree of Life, and where's the other one? The Chinese Theater in Fort Wilderness. Are these just photo locations, or is it actual? Oh, no, it's wedding reception locations.
The wedding, yeah.
That is crazy. I feel like the Tree of Life one, it was kind of a long time coming for that, though.
Yeah. I mean, I probably won't have a Disney wedding just because of the price. But if I were, I would, like, this is definitely where I would want it. I just, like, not that Cinderella Castle isn't, like, an ideal, like, beautiful setting for a wedding, or I guess Grand Floridian, like, where you can see it in the background. I think you can do both, right? Like, you can actually be at the castle.
I don't know if I've heard of the castle. I know they have the wedding pavilion in the Grand Floridian, and I know you can do it at the Canada Pavilion in Epcot. Those are the only two that I am for sure about.
I'm pretty sure that you can do it directly in front of the castle. It's just that your wedding has to be at like 11 o'clock at night. And who wants to do that?
I don't even want to know the price of that.
So I'm actually looking it up now, but I believe that you are right. And I'm going to say it was actually at like 11 o'clock at night or like 9 in the morning. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, like the worst times to have a wedding.
Magic Kingdom Park Evening. That's the first one that comes up. Let's see if it tells me how much it costs. Nope, it says ask your Disney wedding consultant. So
yeah.
Oh boy, that means it's very expensive.
But there's also the East Plaza Garden that you can get married into, and that doesn't have a time frame, but I'm also going to venture to say that that's probably early or late, because that's directly in front of the castle.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. But I mean, like I was saying, it would be super pretty to get married in front of the castle, but I feel like it's just become so like stereotypical now that it kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, I feel like, so here's the thing that I have to say about this, because I know this is not in my future, but there's so many really cool Disney wedding venues. I think the Magic Kingdom, like the Castle View one, is like the weakest of all of them.
Yeah, I think time has weakened it because it was the only place for so long. That's where every Disney wedding, that was the background.
Yeah. But even like the Canada Pavilion, that's a really like cool spot to have a wedding. But I honestly think, looking at these pictures, the Animal Kingdom one is the most, like, it's the most beautiful, and it's definitely the most fitting of the overall theme. Because a lot of the other ones, it's kind of like, we just threw benches here so that you can have your wedding. This one, like, there are wood benches, they have the tiki torches, there's, like, candles all around.
Yeah. Plus, it's just, like, not that the Tree of Life is generic, but it, like, when you're having your, like, wedding photographed, it's not, like, obvious at a glance that you're at Disney World, which I think is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
moving on to more stuff that
we'll never have.
We'll be able to afford.
Next news story is that a leaked picture reveals the interior of Epcot's Club 33 location, which, for those that don't know, usually there's a rule that says you are not allowed to take any photography at Club 33, but a picture has surfaced on the internet. Is anybody else super underimpressed by this one picture?
Yeah, I thought everything would be made out of diamonds, but it wasn't.
Well, not even just that. Like, this kind of feels like a hotel lobby to me. Like, just looking at it, you have, like, that print station in the corner, like, that big picture with the, like, table under it and the glass or window, whatever that is. Like, it just...
Yeah. It's hard to tell even how big it is from this picture. I mean, I have to think there's a lot more going on than what we're seeing here, but it is, this picture itself is pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
I think even, like, take it a step further than a hotel lobby, it looks like the area of the lobby where you would have the continental breakfast, which I think speaks volumes.
That's
so.
Oh wow.
Maybe it's still in the works. They got some more stuff to add. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, if I was paying like whatever $15,000 a year after a $35,000 initiation fee, I'd be pretty upset by this. But at least I think with the Disney World Club 33, you get access to all of the ones, right? All of the locations?
I am not sure about that, but...
Well, I guess nobody really knows yet, but that's, I think, what the general rumor has been.
I would hope so.
So
I want to throw a last-minute news story at you guys, because I forgot to throw this in there. But did you guys hear the big uproar about the item that was removed from Woody's lunchbox?
no.
So apparently the Monte Cristo sandwich was removed from Woody's lunchbox, and Disney's reasoning behind it is what made everyone very confused. Now, we all know Toy Story Land's been open for less than a month, and they removed this sandwich as they said it wasn't selling as well as they would like it to. And a lot of the reviews actually said this was probably the best item on the menu. So a lot of people are confused, concerned, and wondering what happened to this sandwich, but I just wanted to throw that in there very last minute to tell you about that.
That's really weird.
It's really weird because it's like, how can you judge if it was selling well if it's only been there for 3 weeks?
Into it. Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that they think it's probably because there's not enough like space and it takes too much time to make, which would make the most sense, but Disney's saying that it just didn't sell as well as they wanted it to.
Yeah. It's probably more expensive than they want to pay
Right.
for the product too, so maybe that's why. Especially if people were saying it tasted really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, just tack $1 or $2 onto it, and people are still gonna buy it.
I mean, we know Disney's not afraid of price hikes.
Yep.
So you're ready to talk about this week's topic?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as we said earlier, this was a suggestion from one of our listeners, Sara. She gave us the idea to kind of talk about some things that we might splurge on or really kind of push back on and give some savings tips for a Disney vacation, because there is a lot that goes into it and there are a lot of things that can change your prices. So this is a really good option for a lot of different people that, you know, maybe want to try to save some money or give that once in a lifetime chance thing. So do we want to talk about resorts first? Because I know we have these kind of all over the place. Where do you guys want to start with that? Do you want to do like values and go up to Deluxe, or just kind of do a general overview about resorts?
Yeah, well, I'll say I guess I didn't explain this very well when I put it in the notes, but my thought process with this is for somebody that's kind of sitting on, you know, in between each tier and considering whether they want, if they're in between a value and a moderate, should they splurge and go for the moderate resort? And if they're in between a moderate and the deluxe, should they splurge and go for the deluxe resort?
That makes sense. I think your resort is really a lot to kind of consider when you're looking at price, because this is where the bulk of your price ends up being. So if you guys were looking at a value resort versus a moderate resort, which route do you think you would go?
If I was in this in-between price range, and the kind of person that was, you know, traveling for a trip, if this was a once a year or once every couple of year trip, I would suggest splurging for the moderate.
What about you, Beth?
Yeah, I don't have, obviously, very much experience on this, but I would agree with that. I think it would depend, because, you know, sometimes by the time you're booking, there's only, like, the big rooms available that are, like, significantly more. But I think if you're planning well enough in advance, you should be able to get a pretty decent rate on a moderate, enough to make it worth it.
I think I'm going to kind of agree with you guys with a little clause in between there. If money is super tight and you don't really have, you know, the option to do moderate, but you think you might be able to push it, I would say this is somewhere you can definitely shave off if you're not planning to spend a lot of time in your resort.
Most definitely.
So if you're
like if budget's tight, this is probably the best place to start with, you know, trimming some of the fat.
And
yeah,
kind of on top of that, like if you think that you're going to be in your resort just to sleep and to get dressed, maybe a value is not the worst option in the world.
I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, with both of these that we're looking between the value moderate and moderate and deluxe, I think it very much depends on the kind of trip you're planning to take.
Now, that said, I will say that there have been plenty of times where I haven't spent a lot of time in the resort, but I've splurged on a moderate just because that's what I like and that's what I really want out of it. I want the atmosphere, I want the ambiance, but you don't really get that out of the value resorts as much as you would the moderates. So I think if that's something that you really want to look for and you can afford it, I would say go for the moderate. And we've talked pretty extensively on resorts in our resort show, so if you need any recommendations, feel free to check that out as well. So I want to throw something else at you guys since we're talking resorts now, and we didn't put this in here before. Now, if you had the option to stay off property versus value, which one would you go with?
I would do value.
Yeah, if it's the same, like a similar price point, even if the room is smaller, which it will be, I would probably still go with the value. It's just the convenience of being there is worth more money to me than staying off property and saving.
I also think the amenities make it so much worth actually staying on property for. I mean, specifically in the fact that I don't really like, take a car down or rent a vehicle. Having Disney transportation is a great option. And then also having the option to kind of book your fast passes and everything in advance really helps too.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I know we kind of talked about this on other, or at least one of the other episodes we did, but again, it depends on the kind of vacation you're going on. If you're taking a vacation to Orlando and planning to go on to Disney isn't exactly the same thing as planning a Disney vacation. So, if you're wanting to hit up like Universal and do other stuff around Orlando for, maybe half the time that you're there, then it might make more sense, to stay off property. But I think if you're really taking a vacation to Disney and Disney is your main emphasis of the trip, stay on property.
Yeah,
wholeheartedly
I would agree with that. I would also say, like, going back to the convenience thing, if you are traveling with like children or older folks who it's going to be more of a trek for them to have to do the commute, staying on property is a really good, I think, investment. But also if you are planning on doing some drinking around the world, it's also a very good investment because then you have the transportation back to your resort rather than having to pay an Uber.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a good point.
So now let's flip it to moderate versus deluxe. Which do you feel is more save or splurge worthy?
I would say it would be, for me personally, harder to convince myself to go from a moderate to a deluxe than it would be from a value to a moderate.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Just looking at it now, I'm on Disney's website, and conveniently, Animal Kingdom, Coronado Springs, and All-Star Sports are right on top of each other, so I have kind of a price point here. The price difference from All-Star Sports to Coronado Springs, which, mind you, is the lower end of a moderate, is about $100 at most. Now, the difference between Coronado Springs to Animal Kingdom Lodge is literally double the price of the Coronado Springs stay. So the price difference is really there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for a deluxe, it would have to be like a special trip, or like I would have gotten like a really good deal on it.
Yeah.
But to me, the only deluxe resorts that would be worth it, in my opinion, I mean, obviously I'd love to stay at any of them just because of the theming and the decor and whatever, but I think as far as like a logistical standpoint, the only ones that would really make sense to me would be the ones that you like Beach Club, Yacht Club, Boardwalk, where you can walk to parks. Or Contemporary if you want to walk to Magic Kingdom.
I have to tell you, we stayed at, my gosh, Bay Lake Towers one time with my aunt, and we walked from the resort to Magic Kingdom because it's literally right across the street. Walking there was no problem. Like, I honestly really enjoyed the walk because it was such a short distance, but the walk back was killer. Now, the great thing about that is the monorail runs right through the resort, but still, it was brutal.
Yeah, I think the nice thing for me would be, like, with being able to walk from the Contemporary, would be that you get to do that special security checkpoint instead of having to wait in the line.
Yeah.
That's just a little added perk, I think. Not that the security usually takes like a crazy amount of time, but...
I do have to say, though, the best thing about that stay was that I could open my window and see the Magic Kingdom. So that was cool, but other than that, I don't think I'd ever do it again. Unless it was paid for.
Right. Like, I've obviously never stayed in a Deluxe, and I probably won't be able to convince myself to do it unless I have like a group of people that are going in on it with me, or like I said, I get a really good deal. But for the 50th, I'm going all out.
Well, and here's the other thing. So we've talked extensively about the value of Port Orleans. Like, Brian and I will gush over this every single time we get the chance to, I'm sure. But but the times I have stayed Deluxe, because I've stayed twice, it was Old Key West and Bay Lake Towers. Honestly, I think I would have rather stayed at Port Orleans. Now,
really?
See, the thing is, with Old Key West, it felt very retirement home-y, so I didn't really like the atmosphere of that. Plus, we were at, like, our room faced the golf course, so you opened up the back porch, and, like, there was a little lake that separated us and the golf course, but you could actually watch people play golf. So that really added, it really added to the retirement home feel. But then, like, the Bay Lake Towers was really nice, but the only really good thing, in my opinion, I mean, because I didn't do Top of the World at that point, but the only really nice thing about that was the view to the Magic Kingdom. Everything else, I would have much rather had the room themed to something than the way that they're themed.
So Bay Lake is just kind of generic theming, not like anything in particular.
From how I remember it, picture like the stereotypical New York City apartment that you see in like every TV show, like the upscale, high-end, modern theming. That's literally how our room looked at Bay Lake. Which is weird and kind of disappointing, because you figure you're paying that much money, you'd want something like really themed out, but...
Yeah, I guess they figure most people that are paying that much money aren't like super huge Disney nerds. They're just doing the Disney thing because that's what America makes you feel like you have to take your family if you're a good parent.
Well, and Bay Lake Towers is all DVC, so...
Oh, true.
It's kind of like you're paying for the DVC membership anyway. Like, you have the money to do it. I think that's what it really ends up being.
Yeah.
So, let's jump to the next one, because I think that covered a lot of that question. But this one I hear a lot. Park hoppers. How do you feel? Is that a save or a splurge thing?
So, my thing with park hopper is... because I'm an annual pass holder, it's included, so I don't really have to make that decision. But in the past, I am very hesitant to do park hopper because I think it's extremely easy to spend an entire day at each of the parks, even Hollywood Studios right now. So it just doesn't make sense to me if you want to go to each of the parks, then just do a day at each of the parks if you're there for that period of time. That being said, if you're taking a shorter trip and you kind of, you have other plans, like you want to go to Universal or do other Orlando things, and you're on kind of a time crunch, I think park hopper is a great option because then you can get a taste of all of the parks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not all
I
four in
agree
one
with
day,
that.
but
Definitely agree with that. But yeah, I vote save on this one too. Like even being like fairly local and a pass holder and having the park hopper option, I don't really take advantage of it that often because
yeah,
I
me
still
either.
like to go and kind of fully immerse myself in each park on the days that I go.
Now, I'm going to agree with you guys. Actually, totally agree with everything that you just said. But that said, I do have to reveal that since I am the non-AP person on here, every trip I buy Park Hopper specifically because I think that I like having that option. And we do a lot of dining outside of the parks. So sometimes, like, let's say, we're in Magic Kingdom in the morning and we have a dinner at Boma and we hop up, some kind of transportation to Animal Kingdom Lodge and then we come back. Maybe we don't want to go back to Magic Kingdom. Maybe we want to go somewhere else. But having that option is always nice, even if I don't use it, which I definitely can say that I would definitely save a lot of money if I didn't do that.
So that brings up a good point. Do you know off the top of your head what the park hopper options, like the pricing for them are right now?
I should because I just booked a
I
trip.
think it's like I think it's like 60 extra a day, around that.
That sounds
not
about right.
mistaken.
It's not a lot. Like, it's not anywhere $100 a day, but it's definitely worth it. Or not worth it, but it's definitely enough that it makes a difference.
Yeah. So, kind of on the same note, since we're talking about being a pass holder, I do want to throw out there that I agree with you, Mario, and the flexibility standpoint, because while I don't really use Park Hopper very much, even though it's included in my annual pass, it has been really nice when we have wanted to be spontaneous and just, yeah, let's just go to another park. Why not? Because there's nothing stopping you. But on the same vein, I would also urge you to look into being a pass holder if that is something you think will save you money. Because even living 7 hours away, I have made my pass holder, like I've made my annual pass back hand over foot with the amount of discounts that you get, plus the admission obviously, and memory maker. Like, it has a lot of value if you're planning on going, I would say, at least twice.
So,
Or on a really long trip.
I agree with that. I think that the total number of days that you have to stay for it to even out is around 12 the last time I looked. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think so because I know the Florida rates are about half the price if you're out of state, and I think we added it up, and for like Platinum Plus, it was between 6 and 7 visits was where you hit even at.
Yeah, I think if you were staying for 12 consecutive days, that's probably the break-even point. But I, being the spreadsheet nerd that I am, have been tracking what I would, like, how much I've saved being a pass holder. And my average over the last couple of years is, like, I'll go for, like, a 1-week trip and then, like, a long weekend. And it's paid for.
Yeah.
So, because 12 consecutive days, it gets cheaper the more days you go. So if you're planning, like I said, doing a long trip or several small trips, I think it could pay off either way.
So, I think that that's about right, and that sounds really good, actually. And I probably should have invested in an annual pass a while ago, if that's correct. But I did look up the prices for Park Hopper, and it is, if you're staying for 3 days or less, $69.22. Anything more than that is $79.88 per ticket. So it's not that bad, but still it's a lot.
I mean, that's almost a ticket.
Yeah, it is. Now, if you do it with the Park Hopper Plus option, it's $106.50. And $95.85.
And plus is water park.
Yeah. So that also brings up another point. Do you think the water parks are a save or splurge thing? Because that's definitely an extra admission.
So, from my experience, me and my wife love the water parks, and we definitely take advantage of that, especially during the summer when it's super hot here and the parks are more crowded. The water parks normally aren't nearly as crowded as the theme parks. And I think for us it's like an extra $60 I'm wanting to say to add it to our pass holder, to our annual passes. Gosh. So for us, like, it's a no-brainer because that's like one visit, and we probably go 4 or 5 times a year at least.
Yeah, I've never been to the water parks. I would really like to. But I looked it up just out of curiosity, and it's $65 before tax just to buy like a single day ticket. So I think that would be if you're going to splurge on something and you don't want to spend like a ton of money, I think that would be a good option for you, because kind of like what Brian was saying is you're still getting like a nice Disney experience, but with less of a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Plus on those hot days, I'm sure it's so nice.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm always surprised at how little crowds there are on most times when we go, but it really is. You get to ride a lot more stuff, in the amount of time that you spend in the park. Now, granted, obviously, the water slides and everything aren't as, as highly themed as the attractions are in the parks, but you're still getting to do a lot, and kind of, if you like the more fast-paced stuff, you can do it that way. You also get the option to like just lay back in a chair if you want to do it that way, but I think you get a lot for the money at the water parks.
Yeah,
Nice.
I see. This is where I start to get a little iffy, because that extra $30 added onto the park hopper has always kind of deterred me from it. I think if I was going to do it, I'd probably... I don't know, because I don't know if I feel like I could spend a whole day at the water park just knowing myself. So I would have to do it with the park hopper, and that $30 extra has always turned me off. So maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll do it, but that's definitely a save for me, I think.
It has historically been a save for me, but I would like it to be a splurge in the near future.
So the next one we have on this list is preferred parking.
No.
Strong no. It's a hard no.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
I have to back out of anything involving parking because I have no experience with this, so...
Just going back to the annual pass holder note, you do get free parking as an annual pass holder. So that also is a nice little chunk of change that you could be saving. Like I said, look into it, do the math, see if it's feasible for you. But a lot of my savings have been parking because it's $20 a day, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wanting to say, if you are trying to stay on a pretty tight budget too, and you want to go fairly frequently, like the combination of being a pass holder but staying off property, you kind of, you're not incurring those extra costs of parking if you do choose to stay off property usually.
Yeah. But as far as preferred parking goes, even if you're having to pay the $20 parking fee and you're not a pass holder, then I would still absolutely not, because isn't it like it's an extra $10 or $20 in addition to...
I think it's more than that. I think last time I saw it was $45 for preferred parking at Magic Kingdom.
Which is so ridiculous.
If you're doing it at Magic Kingdom, first of all, like, I feel like you didn't do any research into it, because if you do preferred parking at Magic Kingdom, you are going to get into the parks about 30 seconds before everybody else, because you're still going to have to go to the TTC and wait in line to get on the monorail or the ferry boat. So just because you're the first, or you're a little bit closer to getting on it than everyone else, it's not going to help you.
Yeah, and it's just like the only way I feel like validate it is because you don't want to have to do that extra bit of walking, but that's also what the trams are for, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So strong save.
Yes. Very strong.
For sure.
So let's move on to the next one, which is special tours. Something I have not done, but I think is definitely a splurge.
I would agree that most of them are a splurge.
Yeah.
With the exception of Behind the Seeds, which
Really?
is
Whoa.
well, yeah,
That's surprising.
I don't think Behind the Seats is it's only $25 is what I mean. It's like it's not a huge splurge. I would.
Oh, I thought you meant you wouldn't splurge to do Behind the
no,
Scenes.
quite the opposite. I love Behind the Seeds. I would highly recommend it. What I meant by it was, I would say that everything is a splurge except for the Behind the Seeds because I think it's very reasonably priced.
Okay, that makes a little more sense because I was gonna say, I feel like Behind the Seeds is the one that I've actually been really interested in doing because of the
it's
price
awesome.
point.
Yeah, and like I said, I would highly recommend it. And I was surprised for $25. Well, annual pass holders get a discount for that as well. But even paying $25, I think it's a huge value with the experience that you get with it.
Yep, I agree. I love Behind the Seeds. Like you're saying, it's fairly cheap. Now, I don't know. I've never done Keys to the Kingdom or more of the bigger tours, so I can't really say. I think, looking at this from somebody that's not going to Disney all the time, it would be pretty hard for me to justify spending the amount of money that Keys to the Kingdom cost.
I would agree with that. Like, I've done Keys to the Kingdom, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't recommend it enough if you're a huge Disney fan. But if you're just like a casual park goer, I wouldn't splurge on this. With it being $99, that's an extra day in the parks at least, and while you get to get on a couple of rides without a fast pass, most of it is just Disney nerd knowledge that you're learning, which I'm not undermining that by any means. It's super fascinating and it was a great time. But if you're not like a big Disney nerd like we are, I don't think I would, as a casual person, splurge for this.
Now, let me ask you something. I know we were just talking about Keys to the Kingdom and Behind the Seeds. What tours have you done? You've done both of them, Beth, right?
Yeah, those are the only tours I've done other than DiveQuest.
Okay, and Brian, you've just done Behind the Seeds, right?
Yes.
Now, Beth, since you've done both of them, which one do you think is more worth the cost, like in comparison to the price? So I know you said that you think Behind the Seeds is really worth it for the $25, whatever it is, and Keys to the Kingdom is more for like the hardcore Disney fan. But which one do you think you get the most out of in terms of cost to what you get for it?
Well, in my opinion, again, coming at it from a Disney nerd standpoint, I would say that Keys to the Kingdom is a really good value because it's a 5-hour tour, first of all. So it's like most of the day in the park. And like I said, you get to get on a couple of rides, like front of the line. You get a ton of like interesting Disney knowledge. But the thing that kind of made it, like, sealed the deal to me was getting to go into the utilidors, which I'm sure there are cast members out there listening and think that that's the dumbest thing that anyone's ever said, that I was excited to go down there. But it's just, like, there's such a, like, mythological thing, that made it really exciting for me. And I don't know. I thought it was a really cool experience. Oh, and it also includes lunch at Columbia Harbor House, so I think they're both a really good value. I would say if you have the extra money to throw around, then I would do Keys to the Kingdom. But if you want a unique experience and you don't have a huge budget, then Behind the Seeds.
Very cool. So our next one is the ever controversial Disney dining plan. Now I guess we should probably talk about how there's a couple different options for dining plan, because much like the value, moderate, deluxe resorts, you have 3 options. You have the quick service dining plan where you get a snack credit and 2 quick service credits a day. There's the Disney basic dining plan, which is 1 quick service, 1 snack, and 1 table service. And then there's I think it's the deluxe dining plan is what it's called, and it's 2 table services and a snack credit, there might be like a quick service thrown in there. But how do you guys feel about this?
I have never personally used the dining plan, but I have, researched it in planning trips to see whether or not I would want to do it. And from everything that I've seen, people say that unless you are, willing to plan out all your meals and stuff, that you're more than likely not going to save money doing the dining plan.
Yeah, I have never done it either, but like doing my research that I've done, I would completely agree with that, especially being a vegetarian. The meals are not going to pay off for me because those are the cheapest meals.
So, I do dining plan every trip, but for me it is not anything to do with the food options. It is not anything to do with the cost of it. It's all in the convenience. Now, I know I can save money if I budget for food before a trip, but having the option to just say, I want to eat at Be Our Guest for dinner tonight and not have to worry about how much it's going to cost me, that's, like, in itself is enough.
I agree with you on that, is that if that's, that's your prerogative, then it does make sense, because I can imagine that it would be nice to just, once you do the dining plan, that chunk of money has already been spent. Like, you don't have to think about it again. And I think that in itself would be really nice. But I think, like, knowing myself personally, I would just be, like, adding it up and being like, am I actually saving money? And it would just ruin it for me.
Right. And that's the thing that you kind of have to think about. If it is really a savings thing, I'm going to say this is definitely a save. There's too many catches with the dining plan as far as cost goes. One of the biggest things is obviously what you guys said, how if you add it up, it's never really going to be 100% worth it unless you're like gorging at the buffets and stuff like that. Like, it's never going to break even unless you're really eating like the most expensive thing on the menu. Now, the other thing that's kind of a catch is you get it per night that you're there. It's not per day of your stay, so you're going to have to pay for food somewhere in there already, and tips not factored in as well. So kind of thinking about those, there is some money that you are spending outside of the dining plan. If you want to save in terms of food, look at where you're going to go, look at the menus, and budget that way. I think that's probably the most cost-effective way.
That makes sense.
But that's my experience with the dining plan. And it's funny because it's one of those things where, like, I look at it all the time and I'm like, I really don't have to put that on there. And I'm like, I don't want to worry about the money.
Yeah, and I can understand that. It makes sense when you put it that way. While we're talking about dining, though, I want to ask if you guys have heard of or ever, well, I'm sure Mario hasn't since you haven't been a pass holder, but Brian may have heard of it. Tables in Wonderland.
I've actually heard of that, so.
I looked into this pretty strongly.
It is really, really hard to save money, like for that to actually break even. I tried it one year and it broke even, but like barely. Like, I'm talking like a couple dollars barely.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at when I was thinking about doing it. And that was for the first year that we were pass holders, and I think it would have been narrowly saving money if it would have at all. Just because we don't typically, do table service dining when we're in the parks. So it would have been very rare occasions, and it just really wasn't worth the, like, having to put that money up front, and then kind of I would feel like I needed to use it, so I know I would spend more money eating at more table service restaurants because I would feel like I needed to get the value out of it. So
yeah, and just for anybody who's listening that has not heard of Tables in Wonderland, what it is essentially you get 20% off food and beverage, including alcoholic beverages, at a bunch of the table service restaurants in the parks and resorts in Disney Springs. It's $175 a year for a Florida resident. You don't have to be a pass holder, but you still have to pay admission. and then it's $150 a year for Disney Vacation Club members or annual pass holders. So I completely agree with what you were saying, Brian. I felt like the year that I had it, it wasn't so much that it made me feel like I needed to spend more money, but it definitely made me feel like, well, I want to go eat at this place, but I'm going to go to this place instead because it's on Tables in Wonderland. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's very restricting, and that's not the kind of vacation I like to have.
Yeah, anything, if you haven't caught on to the theme here, like, if it reduces, like, the spontaneity of the trip, I'm usually going to say skip it.
Yeah.
With Park Hopper probably being the only exception of that.
But yeah, I just wanted to throw that one out there.
That's a really interesting thing, and I've heard that it really only makes sense if you're local and you're eating at Disney, like, every month.
Right, like, I could see it making sense if I was local living in Florida and I was an annual pass holder, and if I did live in Florida and was local, I would definitely be an annual pass holder, and I would see myself being the kind of person that's like, I want to go out to eat tonight. I'm just going to go to one of the parks because I can. I could see it paying off in that sense, especially because it gives you a 20% discount on alcohol as well, which
we all know.
I think that's I think it's the only discount you can get on alcohol, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the only one I know of.
So I think it would make sense for that circumstance, but pretty much every other circumstance I would say save.
Yeah, I think so. I will say, though, since you brought up your alcohol, you do get, that is included now in the
dining plan?
Yes, thank you.
One alcoholic beverage, Mario.
One.
Do I look like the kind of person that drinks one?
Listen.
I'm just kidding.
I'm the kind of person that drinks one.
Full disclosure to everyone listening, I am not actually an alcoholic. I really only drink maybe once a week, except when I'm at Disney. Then I kind of do become an alcoholic, but only for the time that I'm there. It's really... I know that's actually what an alcoholic would say. It's not really a problem, but it really is. Please don't go out there thinking that, well, look at that host on Station 71, such an alcoholic.
And now that we've muted Beth on the call, she's getting AA meetings starting next week. But moving right into the next topic, and I think this is one specifically for Beth. What about DiveQuest at EPCOT?
Which, this is funny because I wasn't the one that put this on the list.
Really? I thought you were.
No.
I put it on the list because I wanted to hear Beth's opinion on this.
So I, being biased, would say that DiveQuest was 100% worth it, because I think that is the most unique experience that, in my personal opinion, like, with my personality, I think that's the most unique experience that I could possibly have at Disney World, aside from, like, doing a VIP tour or something like that, but I'm not paying $1,000 for that. So just an overview. DiveQuest is at EPCOT. It's $179 a person. You do have to be scuba certified, which I guess if you're doing it specifically for this, you could consider that an extra cost that you need to decide whether or not it's worth it. But so you get to go on a tour behind the scenes of the Seas Pavilion and learn a bunch of nerdy conservation stuff, which I love. And then you get to do I believe it was 45-minute dive in the tank of the aquarium at the Seas.
It's a pretty long dive.
Yeah, it was the longest I've dove. I mean, I just got my certification back in like August of last year, but yeah, it was a really, really cool experience, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who is interested in becoming scuba certified, because this is a great first, quote unquote, first dive. Obviously, to get certified, you have to do a couple of dives. But as far as like after my certification dives, this is the first dive that I've taken. And it's a really nice leaping off point because you're in this controlled environment. So it's like you get to literally get your feet wet, but without the, I guess, fear of open water that I think probably comes with being a beginning diver like I am.
So now let me ask you this, Beth. And I know that this is probably going to end with a biased answer, but let's say that you're in Orlando, you're in the area, and you have the option to do DiveQuest or a dive outside of Disney. Would you think that in comparison to like an outside dive, just like outside of Disney, this would really hold up its value?
I do think that it would hold up its value just because you get to see so many different species that you're probably not gonna get to see all in one place unless you're going on like a crazy dive in like Australia or something, like where there's a ton of wildlife, or the Caribbean. But I still think it would hold its value outside of the parks. But I think as far as me personally, which one I would rather do is a really tough call, because I did enjoy DiveQuest so much, but I also want to dive other places. So I think it would kind of depend on where the other dive was.
That's fair.
If it was going to be like, as much interesting stuff to look at and swim past. Plus, I think another thing about DiveQuest that I thought was really cool and special and unique to a tank dive that you're not going to be able to do in the wild, like if you went out into the ocean or whatever to dive, is the fact that you're like swimming past the glass and people are like watching you. And specifically the Coral Reef restaurant, the dive master specifically like took the whole group by there, and all the little kids were like so excited about it in the window, just like waving, and you're like waving back, and it was super cute. And they're also videotaping the whole time, which you can purchase at the end of you get to watch it at the end of the tour and have the option to purchase it. They have this one spot set up in the tunnel area of the seas, and they tell you before you dive, like, hey, like, text your family and friends, let them know that this is where they should be standing, and then we'll get video of them in the background with you, which was really cool. So my best friend who lives in Florida, and his boyfriend both came, both of them being cast members, so they didn't actually have to pay to get in, but they came and stood over by the window, and we got our video, like, pictures taken with them, and got some really cool shots, which again,
That's awesome.
I think is unique to that type of dive.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So, and just as a side note, they do have another tour that you don't have to be scuba certified. That's just called the Aqua tour, and it's snorkeling. But other than that, I would assume it's a similar experience. So you don't have to get scuba certified to swim in the Seas Pavilion, but I would recommend it if you're gonna do one or the other. I would just go all the way.
I actually just looked this up. Apparently, this is the one tour that my cousin did the one time we were down there, and I had the opportunity to do, but I totally missed out on.
Oh, no.
Kind of kicking myself for that, if you couldn't tell. But they said it was worth it. They really liked it. They really enjoyed the time that they had. But it's, like you said, snorkeling versus scuba, and the price difference from what I can see, what we have on our list for DiveQuest versus the price for the Aqua Seas tour, I would say
it's only like $30.
Yeah,
I
would say go DiveQuest. Like, the $30 extra and you get to scuba. Like, that sounds a little bit better to me.
I would totally agree.
So, before we take this next one, and I know what everyone's answer is going to be, because we all know that this is the best splurge on property. No, let's talk about dessert parties. None of us have actually done them, right?
No, this is another one, like, after looking into it and seeing so many negative opinions and just seeing what you're getting for the price, I don't even think you need to look at other people's opinions. This does not offer anything, in my opinion. I think you'll end up with in most of the places, like especially Magic Kingdom, I think you're going to end up with a worse viewing point than you would to just find a good spot in the crowd.
So, I briefly talked about this, like, oh gosh, a couple weeks ago. My mom and aunt did this when they went down on their last trip, and from what my mom told me was that they got into the dessert party area. It was like the desserts that you get with your quick service or table service meals, where it's like the little cup of like a little cake, like little tiny brownies and different things like that. It was nothing special for the desserts, and the seating that they had was on the hub grass. So it's really not as special as Disney makes it sound.
Yeah, I've never done a dessert party, but it's funny that we're talking about this because I was literally just looking it up earlier today because they announced that they're going to be offering a Rivers of Light dessert party, and I just was interested in the details. So then I just fell down a well and was like, I'm just going to look at all the dessert party details. In like from what I could tell, I think the only one that would be the ones that would be kind of worth the price would be the Fantasmic one because it's only $39 and you do get like that prime seating. So essentially with the Fantasmic one, it's like you go and you get like a boxed lunch type of thing of desserts and like a drink which can be alcoholic in a souvenir cup, and then you get to sit in the dessert party dining package, I guess, area, which in my opinion is probably the best view of Fantasmic anyway. But it being so much less expensive than the other dessert parties is really why I would say that. The other ones I think are all $79, and they include like a buffet style. So,
oh jeez,
if I eat
$80 worth of desserts,
right?
I am not going to be feeling up to doing anything.
Now,
right.
I have a question for you guys. Have any of you done the dining packages for, like, Fantasmic or any of? I don't think there's any other ones. I think it's just Fantasmic. But
I have not.
Mm-mm.
I have, because it's included in the dining plan. And I will say,
oh wow,
yeah. So I will say that it being included in the dining plan is nice. The seats you get are nice, but the choice of food options, I would pass. So that's definitely, just to throw that out there, I think that's a save on my part.
I will say that the only, like I looked into all of them. The only other one that I would kind of consider would be the Frozen Ever After dessert party at Epcot, because I feel like that has way more value than and they also do one for Galactic Spectacular that's $79 as well, which gives you like quote unquote prime viewing. But the Frozen one has a ton of desserts on the menu, and it's a buffet style as well, but it also has fondue and flatbread and unlimited, from what I can tell, drinks, which include cocktails, beer, and wine. So I feel like I could make $79 worth of stuff happen in that situation.
Yeah.
And you also, after Illuminations, you get to ride Frozen Ever After, like no wait. So I feel like that has a lot more value than the others.
Kind of off of my point that I was saying earlier, you reminded me, because I just thought of this, and now I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on my own. When we did the Fantasmic Dining Package, we ate at Hollywood and Vine, and the redeeming thing there was that they had a chocolate fountain with, like, full buffet of things that you can dip in the chocolate fountain. So I think we spent the most time sitting there because the food was so-so, and we just kind of went back to the chocolate fountain over and over. But this next trip, we're going with my girlfriend and her mom and dad, and her mom wanted to do one of the dining packages because even after I told her what it was, she said, oh, dinner and a show sounds fun. So we're gonna end up doing the Rivers of Light one, and I'll have to tell you how that is when we
Yes, please do.
we come back. The nice thing is it's a Tusker house though, so I might be okay with that.
Yeah. Because not only is that a buffet, it's also character dining, right?
It is.
So,
With Safari Donald.
those outfits are really cute, though.
They are. So strong save on dessert party. That's the unanimous decision here.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to save on something, this would be my pick.
Sounds good. So this next one, I think we need to break this down and then do it together. So the next one that we have listed on here are Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. Let's take them individually and then compare them to each other. So first up, we'll say Not So Scary since that's the first one to come up. Do you guys think this is a strong save or a strong splurge?
I would say a strong save because you can get into the park starting at 4 p.m. So you're basically getting like half a day in the park with a regular crowd and then another half a day without a big crowd.
And it's significantly cheaper than a one-day Magic Kingdom pass if you go early in the season.
Yeah.
I will say it depends on what your plan is for that day in the park. If you want to go to Magic Kingdom the whole day and then do the the Halloween party afterwards, I don't think that's a very good deal because you're saying you're paying double the price. Mm-hmm. If your plan is to not go to a park that day and maybe use that as like your Disney Spring or just hang out around the hotel day and then do Not So Scary at night, then I think you're actually getting a decent deal.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Especially because, I'm sure anybody who's listened to a bunch of episodes knows how nerdy we all are for Not So Scary, but especially because of the unique offerings that they have as far as entertainment goes, I think makes it a great value.
Yeah, and we have an episode on Not So Scary, so you could definitely go back and look at that. Now,
but I've never done that Christmas party, so I can't speak to that.
Have you done it, Brian?
Yes, this last year was the first year that either me or my wife went to Not So Scary or Very Merry, and we did both of them. So
how do you feel about Very Merry as a party? Especially even after experiencing Not So Scary, because I have some strong opinions.
I actually really, really like Very Merry Christmas Party, and it's a weird comparison because they are very different experiences.
Yeah.
I will say I had more fun at the Halloween party, but there's something about going to Disney at Christmas, and Very Merry Christmas Party just does that up to a whole nother degree. So I don't know. It's like I said, even though I think I have more fun at Not So Scary, I think if I had to pick one each year, I would do the Christmas party.
That's interesting. I think I would do the reverse.
I know that's not a very popular opinion, but yeah.
So, I think by itself, I think Very Merry Christmas Party is a very good experience. I was actually just talking to someone at work today about Very Merry Christmas, and I think if you're the kind of person that really enjoys Christmas and that is your holiday, by all means, I think this is the best place to really get into that Christmas spirit. Overall, Disney goes all out for both of the events, and I think that maybe they go a little bit further for Not So Scary, but leaving that out of the equation now, I do think that they do a good job with Very Merry Christmas. I love the parade. I think there's some really awesome things in the parade that they've got going on. I love that it snows on Main Street. That's something that is phenomenal, even though, not to break the magic or anything, but it's not real snow. What? But I love that. I think that that's just something that really is one of those things that Disney didn't really have to do, but they just did, and it's over the top phenomenon. But I think that that's definitely one that I would recommend to do. But I'm gonna say that this is definitely something you could probably save on.
Yeah, and I think both of them are definite saves, especially for someone on a tight budget. Not that, I still love both of them, but the cost is, relatively high compared to everything else that we've talked about on this list. And especially for the Christmas party, like, I don't know, the difference to me is, like, I feel like Not So Scary, like, completely transforms the Magic Kingdom. And Very Merry is kind of just like adding more Christmas theming to an already Christmas themed Disney. So I don't think, especially the Christmas party, is something that is a must do, especially if it's going to be like a one-time trip to Disney that you're trying to keep costs down on.
Now, I will say, I think that it's probably better, and this is not at all the topic of our show this week, but if it is your once-in-a-lifetime trip and you have to go during the holiday seasons, I would probably go during Christmas, because you still get that Disney park feel. The only thing that's going to be different is probably the Jungle Cruise, which, let's be real, the Jungle Cruise is just as awesome.
If not better.
Yeah.
I've actually never done Jingle Cruise.
Beth, you need to do yourself a favor and go down during Christmas this year.
I know. I really want to. I haven't been during Christmas time since like 2011.
Oh, wow.
It's been a while since I was there during Christmas season.
Now, the two of them together, if you had the choice to do, if you're in Disney for that overlap period, but you can only do one party, which one are you guys going to recommend? I know Brian said probably he likes Very Merry more, but I don't know if that means that he recommends it over Not So Scary.
It's hard. This is one that I kind of have to sit on the fence on. Like, me personally, I would probably choose Very Merry Christmas Party, but if I'm recommending this to other people, I think it completely depends on, are you wanting, an extra like touch of magic like you're getting for the Christmas party, or do you want a completely unique experience like you get with Not So Scary?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I personally would probably recommend Not So Scary, but
yeah, having never done the Christmas party, I would speculate that I would still say Not So Scary, but that's also because I love Halloween.
yeah.
So if you aren't a huge Halloween fan, then you may like Very Merry better. But if you're not a huge Halloween fan, I mean, what are you doing with your life?
So, did you guys have any other saver splurges that you wanted to throw out there before we kind of round up the next couple ideas that we have?
Oh, I have one. It's not really a save or a splurge if you do it right, but I guess it doesn't cost any money, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but it adds a lot of value. The Disney Visa card.
Okay.
Because you get special, like, meet and greets that you can go to, which the lines for are usually very short. And you also get discounts on certain things if you're paying with the card. So if it's something that you're going to buy regardless and you pay with the card, I think you get like a 10 or 15% discount depending on what it is. So that may be something you want to look into. They do have two different ones. One is like a premium one and has a annual fee, but the other one does not have an annual fee. So as long as you're not racking up a huge amount of debt on there and paying interest, I think that's a pretty good idea.
So now, Mario, I think you said you have a Disney Visa, right?
We do.
Okay, I do too. Do you, Beth?
I do.
Full
Okay.
disclosure.
I gotta say, I mostly got it because of the card design. Is that what you're gonna say?
Which one do you have?
The castle at Disneyland, but still, it was sparkly.
So I have to throw this out here. Full disclosure, it's not technically my account. I have a card, but it's my girlfriend's account, and it's like a joint one. And she picked the card design, so I now have a Frozen card.
Nice.
And you should...
Hey, I don't know if I'm the bearer of bad news here, but me and my wife share one too, and you can have 2 different card designs.
Oh, I didn't. She didn't
broke
tell me that. We've had this for 2 years, and she's never told me that.
I can tell you, my wife has a Tinkerbell one, and I have a Sorcerer Mickey one, so, and it's the same.
I'm gonna have to log into our account and order a Sorcerer Mickey one. But it's
like, oh no, I lost the card.
Well, it's so funny because like every time I go to use it, because like I don't really use it that often, but I try to use it when I know we're gonna try to be building points or something up towards a vacation, and like every time I hand someone that card or like get gas with it or something, they just give me this look, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
That's awesome.
I mean, I do have to say the back of the card is nice because it's got Olaf laying on a beach, and I think that's kind of cute, but...
Aw, I would have probably gotten that one if it was on the front.
Yeah, I think I would be more okay with it if it was on the front.
Yeah.
But
That's hilarious.
I'm glad that you had to break that to me. I'm going to bring that up to her now.
That's so great. But as far as the rewards on the actual card goes, like, you're not going to... like,
oh, you're not gonna
make a little nest egg out of it or anything, but I use mine to just pay like my utility bill and rent and stuff, and it just, it's stuff I'm already gonna be paying for, so racking up a little bit of extra Disney reward dollars here and there.
See, this is like our main credit card, and I know the rewards aren't that great, like the cash back they were getting, but I love the fact that it forces me to spend my reward points on something that I'm going to have fun with.
Instead of like a statement credit.
Exactly, yeah. You know, if it just gives me the money back, I'm going to say, oh, I need to save that, or oh, I need to spend, that on bills. But like for it to be like, look, you've got, X amount of money to spend at Disney, and it's like I immediately think, oh, I know what I want to do with that, however much it is.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, see, that's with mine. I always end up using my main credit card has a cashback rewards kind of thing to it too, and I always end up just rolling that into a statement balance. So maybe this will become my main card. But you do get some nice perks with it too, where like you get a $200 credit when you spend $500, and they give you like all the gift cards and stuff like that after you've basically used it over and over. And like you said, you get the... What?
Full disclosure, just so no one gets the wrong idea, you get a $200 Disney gift card or statement credit after spending $500 within the first 3 months.
Oh,
It's not like a thing that you get regularly.
Right. No.
If it was a thing you got regularly, that would definitely be my main credit card.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, and then on top of that, like you get discounts and stuff like that on vacation packages every now and then, character experiences, and I do believe you get 10% off on most places in the parks. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say most, but it's a decent amount.
Yeah, because I know it's some shopping and dining, but it's over like a limit too. Like if I remember correctly, you have to spend like $50 for them to give you the discount.
I think that sounds right.
And most of the time, your AP is going to get you a better discount than that. So,
but you can also, just as a side note, when you're shopping on like the Disney website, you can get the discount there, and you can also get the annual pass holder discount on the Shop Disney Parks app. So, little discount action over there.
Yeah. Now, is that one that you think is definitely worth it? Because I know we've all kind of said really good things, but we never actually said if it was worth it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have an annual fee. If you are, good with credit cards, then I think this is a decent option for you. There are definitely cards out there with way better cash back rewards and other perks, but even if you just get the card for the meet and greets, it's not costing you anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So do we want to discuss some of these money-saving tips?
Yeah.
So we kind of touched on this a little bit last week when we were discussing this whole topic, just as a brief overview. But there's definitely ways that you can save money before you go to the park as well. And my big suggestion actually came from when you buy Disney gift cards to pay for your trip from like places that have a discount for using their credit cards, like Target or like a wholesaler like BJ's or Sam's Club. A lot of those places will give you a slight discount on it, and if your trip is fairly expensive, that can actually save you a lot of money in the long haul. So that is my big tip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never done this, but I have seen it several places as a tip, so...
I don't know if you
one.
listened to our episode last week, but I was telling them that my projected savings, if I paid for my entire trip on my Target card with the 5% off on a Disney gift card, is like $400.
Wow.
So
that's a substantial amount.
Yeah, and that's a trip for 4 with 2-room packages and everything. So that's like a good amount of money, but still saving $400 is crazy. Now, I'm not going to buy all of that in Target gift cards. That's just absurd. But if I did, that would be a lot of money.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, why not?
Right.
Because it's not, again, kind of going back the same thing, is not costing you anything extra to get it on the gift cards if it's already money you're going to spend at Disney.
Well, see, the reason that we ended up actually not doing this, and this is kind of a funny story, our Target started remodeling, and we bought out all of the Disney gift cards that they had. So they didn't have any more left for us to buy.
Dang. Some parent went in there trying to get their kid a Disney gift card for a birthday present.
And then here we are buying all of them.
Totally wrecked it.
Sorry, some guy with a frozen credit card came and bought them all.
Oh, that's going to be like the end of me. Yeah, that's a thing that I did. I bought all of the gift cards at Target.
That's funny.
But I'll also be the invisible voice of Kirsten this week and say check Mouse Savers, because that was her tip from last week as well. That Mouse Savers always has something going on. One thing that I kind of found to bounce off of her idea is that I always look at Mouse Savers for their discount deal calendar and kind of compare them. You can usually find a trend in the discounts that Disney runs. Not saying that they're going to run the same discount every year, but you can kind of get like a margin of what they'll give you off of your trip and kind of plan according to that.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
That's
if you're going to do that, be very flexible, because like I said, it doesn't always happen that way.
Also, I don't know if you can you buy tickets on Mouse Savers or no? It's just the information, right?
I don't know. I know you used to be able to buy them on Undercover Tourist. But
yeah, that's what I was going to suggest is, check out the authorized Disney ticket sellers, because if you're only going for like a day or two, you're probably not going to save anything. But if you're getting a multi-day pass, like 3+ days, you can usually save $20-$30 or so on the like Undercover Tourist, like you were saying. I think there's a few others, but...
So what you're saying is I shouldn't buy tickets from those kiosks that are on the side of the road on the way into Disney?
No, you
I'm telling you,
should definitely not do that.
$20 Disney tickets, totally legit.
Oh my gosh.
I just see those and I'm like, who falls for these?
I don't understand how they're getting away with it.
Well, they don't. They just turn them in and people buy the not complete tickets, and then once you buy them, they're non-refundable. So you lose all of your money. But they just made $20.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, how are there so many of those kiosks? Because they're not doing legal stuff. How is like cops not knocking down the doors and stuff? I don't know.
I'm sure it's not super illegal.
From what I heard, what they do is they buy tickets off of people who have bought multi-day pass and didn't use some of their days. Mm-hmm. And then they try to sell it back, which used to work, but now they have the fingerprint technology, so it doesn't. So I don't know how people go for that.
I guess they're technically selling a ticket. It just doesn't give you access to the parks.
That's actually, that's true. That's the legal loophole, probably.
You gotta read the fine print.
Dang. I didn't think about that. But also don't, even if you're not going to buy it on Undercover Tourist or another authorized site like that, don't wait till you get to the gate, because it's automatically going to be like $20 more than if you buy it from the Disney website. You're still going to save $20 if you buy it the day before. Honestly, you could probably get it the day of, right?
I think you can.
You just have to activate it at the kiosk.
I think you can.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to throw something out there that I've never done before, but I know people that have done, and it saved them, not really saved them, but it's helped them out significantly. If you're not sure about it, if you're not sure about any of this, and you're really like, what's the best deal for me? Find an authorized Disney travel agent. Most of them don't have fees with their services, and Disney pays them to book your trip for you.
Yep.
It's true.
And a lot of them, it's their job to watch for deals, so really it saves you the headache and the time that you would be spending, unless you're like us and you enjoy that, because the only day I'm happy to get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning is when I'm booking stuff for Disney, so... Next up, we had get some essentials before you go to the parks, which we've said that plenty of times here. That is huge.
Yep. There is a huge markup on any kind of essential stuff inside the parks.
Now, what would you guys consider essentials? Because I know we've talked about ponchos, like anything in a first aid kit, that kind of stuff. Would you consider...
Sunscreen's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Snacks.
Yes, there is a huge markup on snacks.
And even kind of more along the lines of not necessarily essential stuff, but like a hat, for example. Like if you know, hey, if you want to go buy a Disney hat and you know that going into it, that's cool, go do it. But don't get into the park and like your face and head start getting sunburnt and you go, oh crap, I need a hat right now. And then you have to buy a Disney hat that you might not necessarily wear, outside the parks. Like if you're that kind of person, bring a hat in before you get into the park.
Yes, and similar note, sunglasses.
Yes, definitely.
Because when we went to Disneyland, my boyfriend did not pack sunglasses, and while the sunglasses that he bought in the park are really cool, they cost like $25 for what should have been $10.
Yeah. I will also say, if you have the option to, and you really want to get souvenirs but are on a budget, maybe check out the outlets. A lot of times they have similar merchandise, if not the same merchandise, for a cheaper price.
Yeah. Also bottled water.
Oh, definitely bottled water. Yep.
But going back to the merchandise thing, because that's a really great tip, I love the Disney outlet stores, and I think most of the time the stuff that's in there is straight from the park. It's just like they had too many, I don't know, not so scary magnets made or something like that. And it's particularly awesome if it's like, oh, well, that's a thing that I went to 3 months ago. I'm going to get that for $2 or whatever. So they do have some pretty cool stuff in there.
Yep.
Side note, have you guys heard of Cast Connection?
Yes.
Or Cast Member Connection?
Yes.
Have you ever been?
Nope.
So
I haven't been.
You have not?
Mm-mm.
So if you can make friends with a cast member, I would highly recommend that because it's pretty cool. They have like extremely discounted stuff, and it's not as old as the stuff that you would find in the outlet store. The only downfall to Cast Connection is that there's a room where they sell really cool stuff from like resorts or like parks that's like we were going to get rid of this, I don't know, mirror that was in Wilderness Lodge. So we're going to sell it to cast members for a really cheap rate. Like my best friend got an awesome mirror that has like wood engraved Mickey heads all the way around it. And I think it was like $50, but this mirror was like 4 feet wide. And it came from a resort, which kind of makes it cool. So the people that aren't cast members can't go in that room, but your cast member friend can, and they can buy it for you if there's something cool.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and that's the only thing that would really draw me in there, and I wish that I could see that, but I know that that is probably would not be good for me either. Furnish my entire house with Disney stuff.
But these kind of segue into our last one on the list, and this is just have a good idea of the rough budget that you want to spend on souvenirs before you go into the parks. I think it's one thing that a lot of people overlook or they kind of don't pay attention to necessarily when they're on the trip, and stuff can really add up quickly. So, I would recommend if you want Disney stuff around your house, like look around, figure out what room it is that you're wanting to say decorate in this kind of stuff, and make a list of, like the wall space that you have or certain things that you would specifically want. Or if you decide, hey, I want to do pin trading this trip and that's going to be what I spend, most of my souvenir money on, budget out how many sets of pins you want, a lanyard, all that kind of stuff. Just have a rough idea, because it's so easy to get into the parks and get like caught up in stuff and be having a really good time and just, keep wanting to keep spending and keep spending and keep spending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that goes for most things. Like, if you're not going to do the dining plan, do it for food. If you're planning to drink around the world, definitely do it for that. Like, anything that you want to go and do, definitely look it up, look at the menus, look at the prices. It's mostly all online. Disney does a really good job about being transparent about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So even if you are breaking the bank, at least you're prepared for it.
Yeah, and you can kind of budget it and know where you're going to go. So, do we have any final Splurge save tips, anything that we can give our listeners for a final notice?
I don't know if they're going to do this again this year, but they did this thing at Food and Wine. I think it was last year. It may have been the year before, but I think it was last year. That it's like a tabs that you buy. So it's like a lanyard, and it has these little perforated tabs that you tear off. And I can't remember exactly how much it costs, but each tab gets you a food or drink item. And if you are planning on drinking or getting really expensive food items, and they offer that, again, I'm not sure if they'll do it again, but that saved us a ton of money, because doing the math, the tabs, I think there was like a 8 tab and a 16 tab, and I think the like divided amount like that you had to spend per tab to make it break even was like $7.50 or something like that. And a lot of the drinks are like, $9, $10, $11. We actually used, me and my boyfriend, and you can share them with people, so you don't each have to get your own lanyard. But me and my boyfriend got a 16 tab one to split, and we used like 4 of them on these $16 glasses of wine. So that was pretty nice.
That was really nice.
Cool.
So hopefully they'll do that again, because that was great value.
I guess just one thing to say before we leave. I know we talk about the stuff that we want to spend money on and stuff that we really wouldn't. But just as a side note, like, you can do a Disney vacation on a super tight budget and still have an absolute blast. Mm-hmm. Like, me and my wife went when we were both still in college, and it was, super, super tight budget. And it was still like one of my favorite trips, just because it was like it was like the first time that we had really like planned a vacation together, and it was, a bit stressful, yeah, but it was still an absolute blast, and we did it super, super, super cheap. So don't think that not blowing a bunch of money at Disney means you're not going to have a good time.
I also think that there's a lot of other things that we definitely didn't touch on, because there's so many tips out there online, but doing your research always goes miles for a Disney vacation.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and we were talking about it today at work, and one of the ladies that I work with was saying that Disney is so far out of her price range and that she doesn't, think she could ever do it. And I'm like, I've done it 3-4 times in a year. Like, it's really not that bad if you know what you're looking for and you know how to do it. another thing that, real quick, I just actually logged on to my Disney Experience account to check something, and it just popped up that I could book a trip for October at Port Orleans for like 7 days, and it was only like $2,000, which is really not bad for everything included. So really just watch out for deals, do your research and all that, and I think you can really save a lot of money in a lot of different places. I got nothing else to say, so if you guys want to add anything on, feel free.
Yeah, and if you guys have suggestions that we didn't cover, please shoot us an email.
Definitely.
Let us know. We're always down for more tips.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if any of our listeners have some money-saving suggestions, or if there's anything that we suggested that you guys really take advantage of. Let us know. We'd love to hear it. Then that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Station 71 podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, and while you're there, leave us an iTunes review as well. We'd be happy to discuss your questions, comments, concerns on the show. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on facebook.com/Station71pod, Twitter at Station71pod, Instagram at Station71podcast, and you can send us a listener email at Station71podcast@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in this week to all of our social media as we're getting ready to launch our very first live show for our 1-year anniversary. We hope to see you there, and we hope you enjoyed your ride, and we'll see you real soon.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.